All right, good afternoon. It's been a long time since we made a podcast. I think it's been about four weeks. We've been pretty busy doing family related stuff. Welcome to the Human Frequency Podcast. My name is Philip.
I'm Rebecca. Welcome back.
And we haven't posted something like I said for the past 4 weeks. So what have we been doing for the past 4 weeks?
Oh man, we've had a lot going on. Every
Yeah.
weekend it seems like we've had stuff. We had some really fun family experiences, going down and hanging out with our niece and
Yeah.
her family, our new great nephew. Well,
Yeah.
he's like eight or
Eight
9
months now, and
Yeah.
is just walking like crazy. Just can't seem to slow down. Driving his mom crazy.
Yeah. What else? We have been working on a new project, but not really sure how that project's going. So we're just
Yeah.
kind of like, Philip still hasn't flown.
Yeah.
It's been a little while since he's been out.
We just had a birthday. We celebrated Rebecca's birthday, which was awesome. And as part of that, we went to the Trevor Noah show this weekend. And if you guys, we're not sponsored by Trevor Noah, so don't get the idea. We're still peons. He probably doesn't even know that we exist. But if you do get a chance to go see the Trevor Noah show, you should definitely go and see it because he's really good. Like, he's really good. Whatever you see on television, that's how it is in live.
Yeah.
Unlike a particular comedian, Dave Chappelle, we saw a few years ago.
Dang, you just throw him out there.
What I saw on Netflix wasn't the same thing live.
Yeah, we didn't enjoy the Dave Chappelle show the way we enjoy his Netflix series.
His Netflix series.
But Trevor Noah was just so real and so like off cuff. Like, he's really good at just kind of going with the flow. And he was just so funny. Like, he was just so funny.
Really funny.
I was laughing so hard that I felt like I needed tissue because I was crying because I was laughing so hard. He was just so funny. I would pay again over and over to see that show.
Yeah,
It was really
really
good.
funny. He was really, really good.
So if he ever sees this, great job, Trevor.
Yeah, hit us up. Have a book and everything. Some really cool products.
No. Just good job. Good job.
Or if you have a private plane and you're looking for a pilot.
Oh. Yeah, we were actually kind of wondering about that, right? Like, if he flies private or if he flies commercial, because he did talk about flying first class at one point during the show, but I think that was just part of the story he was telling. So I think he probably flies private. After we got home the next day, we went on Google and looked at his net worth. And we were just kind of curious, and we were both like, "Yeah, he flies private. He flies private. He's done if it's even close to accurate, who knows? But even if it was only half of what it says, he's done really good for himself, and he's
really
probably
good.
flying private. Yeah,
He's definitely flying.
Anyway, that was really fun. Thanks for that birthday present.
You're welcome. What are we doing today? Oh, okay. We're talking about the challenges faced by young people, particularly younger millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah.
It's been a topic on the forefront of our minds because we have 3 daughters who are Gen Z, and the oldest one lives close to us, so we get to live the challenges she is facing. And to make it a bit easier, we have decided to divide these things into 3 different basins. It's jobs, politics, and the economy in general. These seem to be the most troubling things for them these days. And we did do a podcast about 4 or 5 weeks ago on relationships. So that's why we're not going to touch on relationships among Gen Z and millennials on this one. So if you guys want to go back and take a look at that, they're more than welcome to go to do so. All right. The first thing I think we should tackle is jobs. Now, it's a very complicated thing, but then at times people can make it sound really simple as to why Gen Z and millennials are finding it so difficult in the job market these days. I'm of the opinion that it started with millennials who got a bad rap. We were always told that millennials, then and now Gen Z just don't want to work. They don't like work. They are lazy. And I have found that to be untrue and a mischaracterization of the situation they were placed in. Now, I'm not saying every Gen Z or millennials work really hard. Some of them don't, they're just downright lazy. But that's true for every generation too. Yeah. They don't see the point in working a job like their parents did for 20 or 30 years for companies that don't thank them, for companies that will fire them at the drop of a hat just to save some money, for companies that are not loyal to them, for companies that refuse to pay them a solid working wage. And because of this, most of them are now striking for a work-life balance, which is somewhat unrealistic at their age, especially when you're now starting out. But I have to also say one of the reasons, or in addition to companies not being loyal, they're having difficulties finding jobs because of their unrealistic expectations. They, at least the ones that want to work, think that their first job should pay them a six-figure salary.
Yeah.
They don't want to get up there and do the work and build to get to that six-figure salary stage, which would normally take between, 10 or 15 years before they get there. And it is disappointing to them to see that despite all their work, there is no real possibility of them getting somewhere. Some of them are working multiple jobs, but still can't pay their bills. Some of them are working multiple jobs and still struggling to put food on the table. Some of them are working multiple jobs and still can't save or invest for the future. And they get really offended when they're told, well, you're not working hard enough. You need to work harder. And they said, well, I'm already working harder. What else do you want me to do? And that's just on a normal day. Over the past 2 years, the third thing I believe that's been affecting them is this introduction of artificial intelligence. At least AI is getting blame for the sudden layoff. Amazon laid off 14,000 people. Netflix laid off people. Microsoft laid off folks. And they're all saying it's due to AI, which isn't true. AI isn't going to take everyone's job or be as effective as Silicon Valley would like us to be. And young people see this and they're thinking, why am I going to even try if AI is going to take my job in 2 years anyway? And they see all their peers on social media saying how they send out 10,000 resumes or 100 resumes and no one has called them back. So this has led them to be very hopeless in finding a job and even looking for a job, which means most of them have probably checked out. I'm out. I'm just going to spend money I don't have. I know my job isn't going to be enough for me to repay it, and I don't care. And I don't necessarily think the way they look at jobs is entirely their fault. I think it's the fault of previous generations and the system we have created and dumped them into it and expect them to be able to function in it, especially when the system is very dynamic. It's not the same thing it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. It's constantly evolving. And sometimes it's not evolving for the best. As in the case of Gen Z and Millennials, it seemed to be devolving because it doesn't seem like it's working for them. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that You mentioned social media for something else, but I think social media actually has a big part in how they see what they should be getting. Like they see some of their peers, who have started a business and now they're multimillionaires, and they've they started doing side gigs as for their whatever their degree is in, and they're making 10,000, 20,000 a month, and they see all these people doing all these things fast, and they are the generation of like instant gratification. They used to say that it took, like, if you were marketing to people in social media, you had to get your point across in like 11 seconds. And now it's like 2 seconds. If you don't have your information, and that's that instant gratification. It's like the person watching needs to feel something within a couple seconds to take action. And I think that has affected how they see what they should be, what their life should look like at a young age.
Yeah.
Even our daughter came to us at 21 years old, and she was like, but I should already be at 6 figures. And it's like, I'm not even at 6 figures. So It's such an unrealistic expectation that they have for themselves. And I agree that it's not entirely their fault. I think they were handed a pretty raw deal, and we're still in it, right? They're still going to have to battle these things. And so yeah, it kind of sucks for them that they don't get to kind of like ease their way into that. Yes. They have to like really just go for it. And when they say they're working so much, I think there are plenty of them that don't want to work and don't really care. And you can tell by the way they interact with you when you go to the grocery store, or you go to different places. That generation is very transactional. They do not care about customer service. They just are there to do the job. And I think they're tired. I think they're kind of tired because everyone's saying you're not working hard enough. Oh, well, when I was your age, I had to work, I had to work really hard too to get all the stuff I wanted to get. Okay, well, that was also 40 years ago. And you didn't have to work 2 jobs, 80 hours a week to afford a house, to afford your living expenses, maybe to afford the American dream that they framed it up to be, to buy a house and all of that. Yeah, you'd have to work extra hard for that, but not even close to what it is now. Like most of these young people will not likely be homeowners. And it's actually smarter for them to rent than it is for them to try to own a home.
It's much smarter these days.
Especially given that now Trump's going to try to put out like a 50-year mortgage or something like that.
If that turns out to be true, that's ridiculous.
Oh my
goodness.
Don't
take a 50-year mortgage. Could you imagine buying your house at 40 and then you have to wait all these years to pay it off? Just an absolute ridiculous decision. Yeah. In addition, the way job progression has been in the past, it's not the same thing. Probably 20, 30 years ago, the starter jobs were the fast food joints.
Totally.
You would be in high school, work at the fast food joint during the summer. By the time you graduate and you went to college, you had some working experience under your belt.
Yeah.
What was once a starter job is now a permanent job for some people, which meant when Gen Z finished high school, they had no experience and there were no entry-level jobs available for them at these fast food places, or maybe as a waiter or as a host, because the system had changed so much and gotten so expensive that adults saw these jobs as now permanent jobs. And in some states, in particularly California, someone working at a fast food joint could make as much as $25 an hour. And adults see that, and that job is now their permanent and only source of income, leaving all these young people on the street without work experience, which is unfair, because when they do apply for a job, the first thing they're being asked is, what's your work experience?
Yep.
But this has always been an issue in the job market, though.
Yeah.
They want you to have the work experience, but no one wants to hire you to get the work experience.
Yeah.
And unlike us who understood this and had the patience and the willingness to do the dirty job, this generation don't have the patience or the willingness
Hey, girl.
to do the dirty job.
Yeah.
And to take their time to get up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is our dog, Leela. I guess she decided she wants to be
She always has to make a cameo. You know how that goes.
Part of the podcast.
Okay, lay down.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like many of them aren't willing to do the dirty jobs either. Yeah. Like they don't want to get out. They don't want to go clean the hood at McDonald's because it's full of soot. They don't want to go clean the bathrooms. They don't want to do stuff like that. And I get it. I didn't want to do it either, but I did it because that's what, had to be done to be able to get work experience, And so there is that disconnect where that's maybe what people are calling lazy is like that they don't want to do those jobs.
It's too easy to dismiss them by saying that they're lazy. One of the motivations that made us want to do the dirty work is because we subconsciously knew that this was just the start.
Yeah.
And there was something better out there. Like no one had to tell us that. We just knew. It's like we instinctively know that this is a temporary job. This is just a starting job. There is something else out there while you figure this out. But they don't even have the starting jobs now. They have absolutely nothing. And I don't want to do that because it's just not who I am. And I'm not saying they're completely innocent here. They do have some attitudes that makes it difficult for people to want to hire them. Like you mentioned, lack of customer service, the inability to effectively engage with someone, whether it's verbally, physically, or showing a concern as part of your job. They're absolutely incapable of doing that because you mentioned an experience you had a few days ago trying to take some package to be shipped.
Yeah.
They're all standing behind the counter, all young men, and no one helped. They all just stood there
and I
watched
didn't
you
want them
struggle
to I don't care if you grab my packages for me, but just like hold the door. It was raining. They let me use their dolly, so that was really nice. But like they're all standing behind the counter, like goofing off, and there's one other customer in the store that's like waiting and there's no one else there. And there's 4 or 5 of them behind the counter. And I'm just like, you couldn't have at least held the door for me? I was literally carrying in 35-pound packages on a dolly and I had 2 trips to make.
Yeah.
And I just thought, gosh, like when I was growing up, one of my first jobs was at Long's Drugs and we took a class on customer service and it was about the customer experience and like what makes the customer want to come back, and it was the people usually that make the customer want to come back. They'll pay a higher price if they go there and they get really good service. If they go there and the person helping them makes them feel, warm and fuzzy, like makes them feel like they are wanted there. And they're grateful that, hey, you're coming in here and that's paying my paycheck.
Right.
But now they don't do that. No. They're just kind of like, I don't really give a shit if you come in here or not, they just don't. And that I think that's not something they were probably taught.
Yeah. And I struggle with who is responsible for that. Is it the company or is it the individual? Because they know that the company don't care. And they're probably thinking, well, why should I care? Which is a natural human reaction. If someone doesn't care about you, it's less likely for you to care about them. And let's face it, if you've been watching the news lately, it's obvious that companies don't care about people. I struggle with determining if they are lacking in empathy and the ability to serve people, or is it that the companies has never incentivized them enough by showing that they care about them. But
I feel like that's just enabling somebody to not do the job. Like I didn't have to be incentivized to treat people with kindness and respect and to give them good customer service in my job. That was my job. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that is the job. So if you're being paid to do a job and customer service, guaranteed if you work in retail on the job description, customer service is listed on there, right? Yeah. if that's listed on there as part of your job, that's the job you do. And that's the thing that they're unwilling to do,
Okay.
Like they don't, there's no incentive for them to go the extra mile, right? But the incentive for them to do the job is the fact they're getting paid. And I don't think that matters to them as much anymore because, like you said, they're choosing this balance that they're finding. And most of them are wanting experience with people over things. They would prefer to go hang out and do stuff with their family and friends and have an experience than to buy things,
Yeah, that's true.
And so I feel like money is important in their lives because they need it to pay bills and they're already struggling to do that. But like, if they can just do that, then, it's just not enough of an incentive for them to not, they don't care enough about the job to like do the job, like to really do the full job. Yeah. They'd rather just quit and go find a different job, and then they're probably going to end up with the same situation there, right? Where they're finding, there's things that they're unwilling to do there as well. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird space.
Yeah, it is. It is a weird and unfortunate space. Go ahead.
No, I feel like they, I want to hold them accountable, but I agree with you that like the things that they've been, the things they've been given or the tools that they have not been given or the economy they've been given, all the different things are just not incentivizing them enough to do the job.
Yeah, if I had to, I would say I would place 20% on them and the rest on larger society. But I wouldn't hold them solely responsible because at the end of the day, their life really didn't start it right. So it was kind of hard for them to catch up.
Yeah.
But as adults, they are somewhat responsible. Yeah. And that's why I would give them 20%.
Okay.
And the 80% to society at large.
I also think that like part of the reason that they probably are so disconnected at work and not really that interested has to do with their mental health, and the fact that we've heard our daughter say before, like that the economy makes her feel hopeless. And that word hopeless is like pretty big, right? Like that if they're feeling hopeless that things aren't going to get better, then what are they working for, And our generation, I wouldn't say that like we had that like, oh, we're working to get to the American dream. We were kind of in the in-between space. The boomers, they were like, we're working for the American dream, and they got it. They got the American dream, and then they set it up for themselves, and then they pulled up the ladder after them, and they're like, well, forget you guys. You don't matter. But for us, like we didn't really experience that. We were just driven to work and to provide and to, have a nice life. And now this generation, it's like, what are they driven for? Because they don't see what the benefits are at the end. They can see it in social media and people who are making a crap ton of money, but in their peers that they see daily, they're seeing everybody struggle. Everybody's struggling the same, and they don't really see an end to that. Where's their light at the end of the tunnel? Yeah. They don't have one. And so then if you add on top of that, the way the economy is, the politics, like all of these things, that makes you feel like, what am I even here for? Yeah. Which is probably why I would venture to guess that suicide rates have gone up in that demographic, because they kind of feel like, why am I here?
Yeah, and purpose. You mentioned boomers, the economy, and politics.
Yeah.
Boomers don't seem to realize, or if they realize, they refuse to acknowledge it.
That's probably more
that the economy is totally different now than when they were coming up.
Right.
In their time, most Americans were middle class. They make a lot of money working in manufacturing, and a single income can support a family of 4. And the companies back then saw themselves as working as part of the American society to uplift its citizens. So companies cared about how their actions affected the people who worked for them and the country as a whole, particularly during World War II, when it first started happening. The level of patriotism among companies and individuals alike was the highest it has ever been. Even after September 11th, it wasn't as high then. It wasn't as high during September 11 as it was when Pearl Harbor was bombed. The economy changed from manufacturing to finance, and then it changed to tech. And all this while, what remained consistent is the changes were always meant to benefit the boomers generation, every one of them. From from making stock buybacks legal to encouraging private equity, all these things played a role in developing the income gap between the rich and the poor. And it eventually hollowed out the middle class. If you are a millennium or a Gen Z, you saw what happened to your parents during the 2008 Great Recession. You saw how they struggled. You saw how they lose their homes. You saw how they couldn't pay bills. You saw the frustration, the fear, and the anxiety on their face. And if you were a young adult, a child then, you're growing up now, you're asking yourself one of two questions. How do I avoid experiencing this same thing that I saw my parents live through? Or does it even matter what I do or how much I do? Because the economy is so designed to make it extremely difficult for me to even get ahead. And that's the question that most of them are probably subconsciously asking themselves, which brings us back to what you said. If they project into the future based on what the economy is currently doing, they don't have to be extremely brilliant to realize that they're probably never going to be able to buy a home. They're probably never going to be able to achieve the American dream, which, by the way, this whole American dream thing was always a lie. It was never true.
Nope. It was just a like a facade almost, or like a dream that they kind of created.
It was a created dream to get returning World War II veterans to spend their government money to buy homes. The American dream was always a commercial enterprise endeavor created by home builders in cooperation with Wall Street to get people to spend money buying homes, appliances, white picket fences, cars, and all this nonsense. And that marketing ploy has become so ingrained in the economic culture and mental culture of the US that people think it's normal, but it is not normal. And a lot of young folks find themselves chasing something that was never real. And when they don't get it, they feel depressed.
Yeah, or
they
like
feel
they're a failure.
Or like they're a failure, which is absolutely awful, because they are not failure. They're trying their hardest, and the economy just isn't working the way it once did.
Well, and then all you have is boomers at the top who have pulled the ladder up behind them, who are saying, oh, the economy's great. Well, that's because after they pulled the ladder up, their stock portfolios were full and ready to start booming. And so they pulled the ladder up, and now their stock portfolios are doing great. I mean, Trump just did an interview the other day where he basically said, oh, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like with, prices being high, 401ks are doing great. Well, how many people in Gen Z and lower, like younger millennials even have 401ks?
Right.
How many of them have any stocks or anything like that? There was a nice boom with that, with retail investing in that demographic throughout the COVID and all of that kind of stuff. A lot of young people learned about financial, management, and also like investing and things like that. They got interested in those things, but it's few and far between.
Yes.
And so the majority don't have the things that these boomers are going like, oh, the economy's great. Like, really? The economy's great? Because we just went and grabbed some food the other night for the two of us. We literally got 2 appetizers and 1 dish, and the to share, and the entire meal was $60. And it's like, well, if that's reasonable, if that's the economy doing great, then we are headed for a really, really deep recession, because I don't think that most people think that the economy is doing great right now. The top couple percent maybe feel that it's doing great because they look at their stocks and they look at their 401ks and they're like, yes, the market is on point. But the market doesn't even have anything to do with these people.
And that's the disconnect here.
Huge disconnect.
The economy is, the way how I see it, it's in two pieces. There is the piece for the top 10% who makes their income via capital gains. So they don't pay a lot in taxes, and the stock market is doing great thanks to AI. So any person that's unaware, aka Trump, may think that the economy is doing great nationwide.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it's not. It's doing great for the people up here, but it's doing terribly for the people down here. Politicians don't seem to understand that, or if they understand it, they are intentionally avoiding it, so as to give people the illusion that things are going great. And on the economy, there is a genuine lack of knowledge among, I don't want to say just around that generation, but as a whole, how it works. If I were to ask someone what is an interest rate, they may tell me, oh yeah, it's blah, 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 blah. But if I were to ask them, well, how did that interest rate come about? They wouldn't know that. If you were to ask them, well, what does the Federal Reserve do? What does the Treasury do? They wouldn't know that. And because a lot of young people and boomers in general are unaware as to how government policies affect their pocketbooks, they don't pay interest. They pay no interest to it at all. And the response is, I'm going to get angry because everything is expensive and I don't know why everything is expensive. And it's expensive because of government policies and the decisions made by Wall Street. And Wall Street doesn't care about the individual. Wall Street cares about making profit. They care about making a profit. And I totally get why it's not working for them, and why they may think that the economy isn't working for them, because it's truly not working for them.
Well, they have a bunch of people who, if you look at the age gap between the people who are in power and the people who are now supposed to hold up our country with their work and their work ethic and their values and all these things, the age gap is so different that the understanding is like almost impossible,
Yes.
Because the boomers are going to be like, I've seen some of them like, oh, well, we worked just as hard. I've even had discussions with some of them. Oh, well, we worked just as hard to get into, like, to be able to buy our house and buy everything we bought. Yes. But if we were to take the amount of money somebody makes and compare it to what a house used to cost, right? The two have not increased in value at an equal percentage.
Right.
And so you've got, here's housing prices have gone way up here, and their income level hasn't really gone up at the same percentage as if it were the same percentages as back then.
Yeah, I saw something that said, when you account for inflation, someone in 1970 was making just as much money as someone is making today.
Yeah. See? So how is it that they're expected to be able to do these things that everybody says they're supposed to do, buying a house and buying a new car and doing all these things, when their dollar doesn't go as far? It will never go as far, because the truth is that prices won't they'll come down a little bit here and there on certain things, but once companies recognize that consumers can pay a certain thing for something, they will max out to that level
and stay there.
They will not budge from that. If they know someone will pay that and they can sell out, or they can sell as much as they can, they will keep it there.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, unfortunately, that's going to be a long-term problem of your money not going as far.
Yes.
And that's going to cause people to leave too. Because there are other places where your money will go further, and you can still make decent money too. So,
yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
So I guess we can agree that the economy just isn't working for them because it's different for this generation than it was in the previous generation.
Yeah, definitely.
And older generation who are currently benefiting from the system that they put in place many years ago don't understand it and think that while there's some degree of laziness among millennials and Gen Z, there are quite a number of them who do want to work. They may not have the skill necessary to work, but they do want to work.
Mm-hmm.
But why would they work if the economy isn't going to give them where they want it to be?
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, the biggest problem I think we face is how we see the economy and what we expect to get from it. And that is, we see the current economy as if it was in 50, 60, or 70 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the American dream is no longer affordable in today's economy, yet we strive for it.
Mm-hmm.
When the foundation of the economy is not the same compared to what it was back then. It is as if psychologically, we think of the US economy the way it was in 1950,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to what we should be thinking about is what it is like right now in 2025.
Yeah, but I think that has to do with the older generations teaching the younger generations, well, this is how it's done. This is what you do. You buy a house, you do this, you do that. So how would we know any different other than what we've been taught?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like there's going to have to be a mindset shift on what success looks like and what what success feels like, because I feel like a lot of people put those things on the list automatically.
Because that's what they've been told.
Because that's what they've been told, when that doesn't necessarily have to equate to, that's not necessarily success, or might not feel successful. I mean, we are, in our 40s and 50s, and we're still renters, and we did that on purpose. And it's worked out fine for us, but we're both successful. So I think it's just it's a mindset shift, like you're saying, the psychological piece of it that hasn't really clicked yet, and I'm not really sure what it's going to take to click, because everything is a lot more expensive and a lot harder for them to achieve.
A lot more expensive, a lot harder. Money isn't going as far.
Yeah.
And it's just not working.
Yeah.
For them.
There's going to be a bubble burst, but I don't think it's going to be like any other bubble burst we've ever seen before. You know what I mean? Because right now, we're already seeing real estate markets come down. We're already seeing prices of rentals even come down.
Yes.
And I think that people are starting to just hold steady right now and stack their cash a little bit, because there's so much uncertainty.
Right. Which is unhealthy for the economy, because the U.S. is a consumer-based system.
Right.
The U.S. economy relies on people spending money.
Mm-hmm.
When people are no longer confident that their money will get them a certain place, they start saving money.
Yep.
If people are saving money, they are not spending money. If they're not spending money, the economy tends to shrink. Mm-hmm. When the economy shrinks, companies tend to fire people. And that's why you have seen a lot of layoff these days, because companies see the writing on the wall. They see the foreclosure rate going up. They see consumers spending less. They see consumers choosing to go to bargain places like Ross and the Salvation army, and they see the amount of default on car loans slowly begin to increase. They also notice that the national credit card debt is the highest it has ever been in the history of the country. It's anywhere between $2 and $4 trillion.
Wow.
That is a lot of money. So these companies, they see the writing on the wall. So they're beginning to cut costs, and they're blaming AI for it. But this has very little to do with AI and more to do with what the future economy holds. Like, they see it coming.
Well, and I think it also, like, what they might not see coming is the generation beyond Gen Z, right? Gen Alpha,
yes.
So that group of people, they're coming through high school right now, and their spending is much different. They see value in different things. Like, they now are thrifters.
Yes.
They love to thrift. They like to find vintage stuff. They like to go, and we're not talking about the vintage places in like the hoity-toity neighborhoods where you're going to buy a sweater that's like $200 because it's vintage. We're talking about straight thrift stores, like old school thrift stores. And that's their space. They're starting to see the value in things a little bit differently now.
Yes.
Like, not to say that some of them and might not go buy $100 pair of jeans or something like that, but they're seeing things a little differently. They want to go backwards.
Yes.
It's like this desire to go back to when we were kids. They want to experience the things that we experienced because they were simpler. They held more value. Even talking on the phone has become a thing for them now. They want to talk on the phone more than texting. Like, millennials are like, don't ever call me. Don't ever call me. I'll never answer.
Yeah.
Part of Gen Z, same thing. Don't ever call me. But a lot of Gen Z and a lot of Gen Alpha, they want to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
So things are changing for them. And I think that's what companies aren't seeing, is that their up and coming consumers aren't the same as they've ever experienced before in the modern times.
Yes. And the reason companies don't see that has to do with how they think.
Right.
In the US, when compared to China, we were talking about this morning or yesterday. Companies here think in 3 months cycles. Every 3 months, I need my share price to go up. Every 3 months, I need my sales to go up. Every 3 months, I need to cut costs. They only think in 3-month increments. The downside of this is what works this quarter may end up coming back to bite you in the last quarter. And they're often stuck trying to figure out, well, why did this happen? I don't know. Maybe it's because the decision you made 8-9 months ago, while it was correct then, it's proven to be your downfall now.
It's like there's no foresight.
There's no foresight. And this happened when in Silicon Valley, prior to the pandemic, they just cut staff, cut. And then the pandemic happened and they found themselves understaffed. Then they hire. Then they hired too many people. And now then they started to lay them off. And now they have AI. So now they're laying off even more, which it has nothing to do with AI, to be honest with you. I'm going to say that 1,000 times. But that's how the economy is going for them. It's not going. I could see why they are very hopeless.
Yeah, defeated. Like, what's the point of working? Like, what would be the point of actually, obviously I have to pay to feed myself. That's why there are more people living in their cars now, because they can afford a car payment, just not a house payment.
Yeah.
And they can afford to feed themselves, and that's about it, and that's pretty sad. That's pretty sad that that's the place that we're in, As of, like Gen X's, we're just the forgotten generation anyway. So we're kind of used to just having it be sad, and we're just like, whatever, we'll deal with it,
Yeah.
But for them, they grew up in a time where, they didn't get to have proms and graduations and things like that, or many of them didn't. Many of them didn't get to experience a lot of the, really exciting parts of their childhood even. So they were feeling like they had to kind of, get moving quickly. And now it's like, well, what is that even getting me? I'm getting a paycheck every week, but it's gone before I know it. And that's also creating a problem in their financial health, because they're using, like Klarna and like all these afterpays and stuff like that. So then they're building this up on the back end because they can't afford to to even pay all their bills,
Right.
So it's pretty dreary.
It is. It's pretty dreary.
Sounds pretty dreary.
It's a tough spot for them to be in.
It is. Yeah.
In your response on the economy, you mentioned politics.
Yeah.
Politics is also an area where in the US, I think there's only been one time where the country has been so divided along political lines. I've been here for 25 years. And this is the first time I've seen the country so divided. And these young adults, they grow up in this divided era.
Yeah.
They don't know a time when political figures in Washington, D.C. work together to unite the country and to address the challenges the countries face. All they know is this partisan infighting, fighting among themselves. For them, it doesn't make sense. And they assume that this is normal. They assume this is the way things work. And they're not stupid. They know that if politicians are incapable of making agreements among themselves, it affects them. They know it affects their ability to find a job. It affects what happened in the economy. And it affects them, as you stated, mentally and psychologically. And this morning, I saw a video of Mitch McConnell being taken to the Senate chamber. The guy can barely walk. He was being escorted by two people while he's dragging himself. He is in his 80s. The Democratic guy, Schumacher from New York, why is he still there? Nancy Pelosi just stepped down after 40 years. This goes to your point where you have all these baby boomers who built the system to benefit them, still running the system, trying to manage a generation that they're out of touch with.
Yes.
They don't know what this generation needs. They don't know what they want. And crucially, they don't know how to motivate them. When Trump won, a lot of young people voted for him, but they did so based on anger, based on resentment, and possibly based on racism too, because they didn't know any better. No one was talking to them, at least not in the Democratic Party. They were ignored. They were just forgotten. And here comes this supposedly successful business guy appealing to their anger, their frustration. And as a result, a lot of young men voted for him in drove because he satisfied what they were feeling. He confirmed what they thought, that things were being unfair towards them. Fast forward 10 months, quite a number of them have regretted their vote because, as it turns out, the economy is terrible. We bombed some country we weren't supposed to bomb. Food stamps isn't being given out. The courts are being ignored. It's just a disaster. On the other hand, they look around and they see the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party don't seem to have a backbone. They don't seem to have a clear and precise message. They don't have a strategy to deal with the Republicans. So you have these young adults in the desert surrounded by two political parties in a political system that does not recognize them, that does not acknowledge them, that does not address their concern. And they're like, what's the point of getting involved? And you have someone like Zohan Mandani, who just won the mayoral race in New York. A lot of young people flock towards him because he understands them. He understands that most of them want things to be cheaper. Most of
well,
them
he's
want
34.
things to be simpler, and he's younger, and he can
he's
relate.
in touch.
Yeah, most of his whole campaign, what he spoke about was affordability, and it's true.
I mean, regardless, he's a democratic socialist, not to be confused with communist or with commie socialist, but any socialist is probably going to talk about affordability. I just think that is maybe what you're saying is that, or maybe what I'm hearing you say is that that's what got them to want to vote for him, right?
Yes.
Because he was speaking their language.
Yes. He was speaking their language and they can relate to him. But the downside of being a socialist is everyone seemed to think that most things should be free or most things should be cost effective. However, someone still need to pay for that stuff. And that's where taxes come in. And they're like, why am I working so hard if I'm going to pay so much in taxes? Because the government is spending so much money on a lot of nonsense that don't benefit me. Why am I even going to do that? And that brings us back to not wanting to work and the economy not benefiting them. But overall, politics just isn't relatable to them. Each of them take their corners and they stay there. And those who are in the middle are confused because they don't understand why politicians don't work together to make the system work for the betterment of the country. And one side is talking hate, the other side is talking free stuff. And nothing can be free because that doesn't work indefinitely. And hate definitely doesn't work because history has proven that. And you're like, well, what are we supposed to do? Then you have people like Bernie Sanders, who is also a Democrat socialist. You have AOC, who is from New York. She is also out there talking about affordability and the unfairness of the system. The biggest flaw with politics in the US and why young people don't believe in it anymore has to do with who owns it. And that's the millionaires and the billionaires. Take, for example, this government shutdown that is due to health care. You and I was just talking about this. The question both parties should be asking, Democrats and Republicans, is why do we need subsidies to help people pay for healthcare? If they were to ask that simple but serious question, they would realize it is Wall Street, is the big pharmaceutical companies and the health insurance companies that keep driving up the cost of healthcare. But because both parties are themselves subsidized by these big pharmaceutical companies, the healthcare industry, and Wall Street, none of them are specifically targeting the cause of the issue. Instead, they want to take taxpayers' money to give to the insurance companies because that's what it is. You're just giving them billions of dollars every year. And if you are an in tune young person like your friend, Aaron Carter, the guy who you like to listen to.
Oh, Aaron Parnas.
Yes. You get upset because you understand what they're doing, you know they're lying to you, and you feel powerless to do it. And they go, well, why should I even vote? It doesn't matter. The Democratic Party has no incentive, like the Republican Party has very little reasoning to change their rules, because someone who vote Democrat will most likely vote Democrat because they don't want to vote for a Republican. And the same thing for someone who vote Republican. They don't want to do the Democratic thing. And if you're in the middle, you're just trying to pick the lesser of two evils, the one that's more consistent with your beliefs. Outside of that, they don't have any reason to trust the system, like none whatsoever.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
No, I agree with what you're saying. It sucks to be in their shoes right now. I kind of while you were talking about that, I kind of had this vision of how Gen Xers, had to kind of take care of this is going to sound really mean, so hopefully there's not a lot of boomers on here, but had to take care of our, let's say, wild boomer parents while they were having all their fun, right? Mm-hmm. That's why so many Gen Xers were latchkey kids, is because, yeah, their parents were working, but they were also out having a good time. They were living their life. Just their world was great, during the 70s and the 80s. And it was great.
Best time ever.
They loved it, right? But we, as Gen Xers, we kind of had to be the adults in those times and kind of step forward and learn how to be the adult, because we knew that our parents probably weren't going to actually step forward and really do all the adult things. And now what's happening is this younger generation, they're watching their grandparents, boomers, and those are the people in power. And they're sitting here going man, we're having to foot the bill for you, and it's pissing them off.
It is.
Because they're realizing that we're the ones now responsible for all this damage that you've done. And now we have to step up and foot the bill. And that's really unfair, Yeah. And again, boomers are so out of touch from what is actually happening in the younger generations, because guess what? They pulled the ladder up. Mm-hmm. Had they left the ladder down and they let these generations be a part of this,
yes,
then there wouldn't be a divide, because they would be in touch. They would understand what's happening right now. But instead, they selfishly decided that they got everything they needed out of everybody and every part of the economy. And now they're going to pull it up behind them and leave everyone else to just, pay the price. Yeah. And that's really crappy.
It's really crappy.
And what's even more crappy is that their narcissistic selves would never actually admit that that's what happened. They won't admit that they benefited far more by, in the U.S. economy than any other generation.
Yes.
Any other generation. If you look at their parents,
yes,
they didn't. They benefited, but that was the very beginning of benefiting, right? But once the boomers came along, they were spoiled rotten as kids, because their parents finally started we're making a little money now, and then they just kind of kept spoiling themselves, we just life is Woodstock.
Yeah, this
life
guy
is Woodstock.
Yes, I saw this Anthony Scaramucci. You guys can look him up. Pretty cool guy. I mean, he said something to the effect of, the boomers were handed a silver spoon from the great generation, which is their parents, and they just blew it. And it's true, every successive generation following the boomers has experienced a lesser and lesser economic, social, political life within the United States. The boomers started here, and based on their choices, then everyone else is like this. And because you don't know what happened here, you figure that you live in your best life, when in fact you're not. You live in, the boomers were here, you were here, you live in a much lower existence.
And they're still here.
And they're still there.
Because they bought these houses, affordably bought these houses that now are worth millions of dollars. They've probably made a good 400 or 500% return on their homes that they purchased or will. And then they got into the stock markets early, and they had 401ks from 40, 50 years ago. And now they're living the high life. I mean,
they also have retirement. Don't forget
exactly retirement, Social Security. I mean, they've got it all, you know, and they're still living that high life. I mean, I interact with quite a few boomers, and they're all a bunch of party animals now. That's what they do. They socialize, they hang out. That's what they do. Now, not to say all of them, but a lot of them, the majority of them probably. I'm sure there are many boomers who are currently working full-time jobs and still trying to get by. And not to say that we're talking about an entire group of people. This isn't like a broad generalization. It's just it's a generalization of a good percentage of that category of people. And now they're just out having a great old time. You know, they're like, oh, we're going to buy a Winnebago and, you know, drink my life away and travel all over America.
And showed no care or concern for the younger generation, blaming, saying that, oh, you guys don't work hard enough. You guys don't work hard enough. And what we're not saying that boomers didn't have their challenge in their time. They absolutely did. They had their challenges. But what's different is they had hope. They had possibilities. They knew if they work hard and they do the right thing, the American dream was in their reach.
Yes.
Today, there is no hope.
No hope.
There is no possibility. There is nothing.
And yet they still are throwing it in our face because you've got SNAP benefits completely obliterated right now for millions of Americans. And yet you have Trump having a great Gatsby party, you know, on probably taxpayer dollars. And of all things to choose, like the Great Gatsby, you know,
decadence.
Of all things to choose is like, okay. And so they, again, just like smashing it in our face. Like, well, we have all of this and you don't. So you can stay down there with your non-SNAP benefiting having self, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, it's so blatant and it just bothers me.
And those young people who are in the know, they're just as frustrated.
Totally.
They're just ready to throw the towel in and say, well, what else am I supposed to do?
And sometimes I feel like they look to Gen Xers for like, well, what are we supposed to do? And we're going like, we don't know.
Supposed to do.
We don't know how to handle this because, and I have to applaud the people who are younger, who are getting into politics because they are seeing like, I need to make a change here.
Yes.
You know, I need to help make a change here. Like Mandani, like 34 years old. He's pretty young. Yeah. And he's already had a career in politics.
What sucks about that is for someone like him who knows the system is broken and they're trying to fix it, the boomers are not letting them fix it.
No.
They are not letting them fix it.
No.
Which is surprising because you would think, given his success, that the National Democratic Party would get behind him.
Yeah.
Schumer, Pelosi, the minority leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, none of them have endorsed him. None of them are getting behind his message because they're thinking, well, we can't take this nationally. Well, someone who's in their, 25, they hear that and they're thinking, I have an affordability problem because I can't afford to pay rent. I can't afford to buy a car. I can't afford to make my credit card payment. Here is someone telling me whether he's being honest or not, whether it is possible for him to do all these things or not. At least I have a politician who knows what I'm going through.
But isn't that what Trump supporters felt too?
Yeah, that's what Trump supporters felt, and they voted for him. But now he's in power, and he's not delivering those things, and that's why quite a number of them feel betrayed.
Yeah.
Now, even though Mandani getting elected in New York is probably a good thing, we still have to wait and see if he's able to deliver on the mandate he was given. Because saying you want to make bus rides free and saying you want to put one public run grocery stores in the 5 boroughs of New York, that's one thing. Getting it done is a whole different story.
Well, I think why it's so hard to get it done on a local level like that is because at the federal level, people are still being held down. So when you try to make things socialism possible at a local level, you're asking the community to pay into that, right?
Yeah.
So like, okay, we want free things. Well, then you have to pay more taxes.
Right.
Well, when the federal level is already keeping them down underwater, how can they afford to make changes at a local level because they're going to be paying more taxes? How can they afford that? They can't.
Yeah.
So they're going to be working against all of these federal policies that keep holding people down, like tariffs, tariffs holding people down. It's like you're not going to be able to win at the local level as much as you want to, because people can't afford to do both. They either have to abide by the federal policies and pay into whatever they're paying, income tax and all of that, or pay into the local. And I think that's why you see a lot of like these community homestead places popping up a lot. Have you seen any of that, where there's like people who are developing their own communities?
Yeah, I've seen it.
And that is the reason why they're off-grid communities. They just want to live their life and they want to be able to pay into their own community, and that's it. And that makes sense, because if you're talking about New York City, it's a little hard to get everybody to pay into, a general fund to be able to help do these things on a socialism level when they're already being held down by federal stuff.
More political issues that the young folks have to deal with.
Oh gosh,
it's traumatizing for them. I guess at the end we probably should ask ourselves, well, what are some of the solutions to the challenges that they face? Like, what can a young person do who feel this way? And I, sad to say, don't have a solution. I don't. I can tell them. I would say, hey, just keep your head up and keep plugging away. But then that's telling them to keep working towards an endless, unrealistic goal. There is no realistic aspirations that they can do.
But they can get involved, right? Like, one of the things that I think that younger people haven't done a lot of in the past, until just like the last 10 years even, is really get involved and say how you feel, get out there, talk about how you're feeling about all of this, and the more you talk about it and the more you engage with your peers about these kinds of things, the more change you can make. You're not going to make any change if you're just sitting at home wallowing in self-pity.
Right.
You have to do something, and that could just be using your voice on social media, or, whatever that looks like for you, voting, and doing the things, even though our voting is, messed up anyway, whatever, it's still just getting out there and trying to do your part to make change. And a big piece of that is something so simple, and it doesn't seem like it, but it's something so simple. It's just being kind. Just being kind to other people can also shift the energy of how people are interacting with each other, and maybe shift how things are done in our country.
Yeah, I would add, have a realistic expectations, and use social media in a more productive way, as opposed to looking at shorts that doesn't elevate your knowledge. Look at things that brings you a closer understanding of your environment. And instead of believing that things happen overnight, accept the fact that since mankind have been on the planet, everything has taken time. Time is the one thing that you can't rush. It's going to take you time to find that good job. It's going to take you time to build wealth.
Yeah.
And social media make it sound as if you can do it instantly. You can't. Everything takes time.
Yeah.
Have realistic expectations and give yourself time.
Yeah. Sounds good.
You guys be fine. But just don't listen to people on social media, except for us anyway. We're doing the right thing here.
Or at least find some good independent sources that are, speaking truth. I mean, it's hard to know the truth these days, but
yeah.
Anyway, so is that going to wrap it up for this one?
Yeah,
okay.
That's it for this one. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the Human Frequency podcast. We do our best to post one episode every week, but last week, the past 4 weeks, we got tired of doing some family issues.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, subscribe if you guys have any comments or any suggestions or topics you would like us to cover. Please let us know in the comment section below.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
All right.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Peace out.